Ego and pride aside. I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside. You know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride aside. I know you when you don't know you. You know me and I don't know me.
What time is it? EPA time. What time is it? EPA time. Today, now we're going to talk about this right here. Uh, Too young to understand, but made these hands a winning hand. I mean, basically, when I talk about making your hand a winning hand, it's about life. And what I mean by life is, it's like, we all deal a certain uh, type of lifestyle as far as our parents are different, but as people, we're still people. And all I'm saying is with that hand that you're dealt, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a losing hand. It's like this. For me, I grew up in a project at a time of my life, which was Holly Park. Um, Single mother, so no father in the house. Um, I've been incarcerated. Um, I'm an older brother with two younger siblings. Uh, just going through the adversities of life, but never gave up. Um, I did a stint of time while I was incarcerated, 16 years just about. Came out uh, age 35. I was incarcerated at the age of 20. And still, right now, uh, I'm here and I'm not looking back. What I'm sharing with you guys today is that, when you're young, a lot of things you just don't understand. It's like me growing up, I really didn't understand why my dad wasn't in the house, so forth and so on. Really didn't understand why, certain situations took place in the house took place. And at that time, I didn't understand. Just it was as a kid, you're just like confused. You know what I mean? And then once your dad leaves the house, um, at that point in time, I feel like, it was better, just for like seeing your mom cry and go through the things that she go through. So it brought peace to the house and quietness. But as I left the house and went to other households with a father inside the household, I seen like something was missing, and really didn't understand uh, just the dynamics at that point in time of the male being in the house. So growing up you know, with just my mother and my mother giving me all the necessary tools in order to survive and show me a way. So, looking back on everything and saying to myself, you know, um, the things that, my mother did and the things that she was showing me, um, I feel like she did a great job. I do have to say, so I have to take, my hat off to her. I know some people say that a man is needed in a house, in a household. And to an extent, I believe so. If it's, going to be a healthy environment in that situation. But, with my dad being going out the house, I seen him and things like that. And for the things that took place inside the house, I had some animosity toward my dad that I held for a long period of time. But as I got older, you know, um, I seen holding that anger and holding that it caused me not to grow and to develop, or what I'm saying, just to make me uh, a better person. What I'm saying, as far as growing into a man and shaping, myself and my beliefs and uh, placing me in a position to now that I'm a father. And what it taught me in the end is basically be there for my son 110%. So it was the opposite effect rather than following, what I'm saying, the trend or some people say the ideal thing when it comes to households, especially when it comes to black families, the father not being inside the household. With my dad not being in the household, I will have to say this. Uh, it 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 wasn't missed. I will say it wasn't missed. But just not having that piece there, as far as when you start playing sports and you start going through different things in life to where the male figure does have that significant role to where, like sports, just even like people say, throwing the football, um, the whole working out aspect, things like that. And like I say, um, it's just some things I knew were missed. And you feel that emptiness as far as, what I'm saying, in those categories, where a male does have to play, a great role. Uh, Upon being older, you know, uh, reconnecting with my dad, because I would say like this, I only see my dad within a 30-year span, probably twice in 30 years. And once I actually reconnected with him, it was more so my son, because I remember my son had said one time, he said, Dad, I would like to meet your dad. And for him to say that at that particular time, my first thought was no, absolutely not. But that was for my own selfish reasons. But when I thought about it, that might have been his completeness, to make himself whole or to give him a better understanding as far as moving forward, so forth and so on. Um, so I had a cousin in which he seen my dad and he brought the topic of me up and so forth and so on. So my dad exchanged the number and I reached out to him. Um, when I reached out to him, I just left a text and a couple of photos, basically of me and my son. Upon doing that, eventually my dad reached out and now we're talking. One thing I didn't understand is that my dad was dealing with something and it has to be known as most people that's been in wars is PTSD. So with him explaining that to me and me getting a better understanding, because dealing with the things that I go through, as far as here today, as far as the things that I was involved in and caused, I would say, a form of PTSD, but it's not necessarily, you having to be in the war. We have war right here in America, right here in these streets. So when he explained it to me and the things that he went through and the things that he still deal with to this very day, and he can speak to me so clearly, and I could relate to him as far as the things that he went through and the things that he's going through. And what I mean by relating to him is mentally, the things that he's seen, uh, the things that he had to do, especially at a young age because he was in the Vietnam War, and you can see that he tries to deal with it the best way that he possibly can. And he tries to explain to me and lets me know to where one thing that I never really heard him say too much as far as when I was growing up is that he loved me, you know? So to hear him say that and I hear him say it's sincere. So, and one thing about me and the things that I do is I let my son know that I love him every day. It's not a day that doesn't go by or a morning or even when he sleep and I leave the house, you know, even though he may not hear me, I still let him know that I love him. And I mean, some people they think that telling someone you love them it shows vulnerability or shows you to be weak or whatever the case may be. But I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? That'll make you a weak man. It'll make you a lesser man. It just sometimes in many situations, especially when it comes to males today or girls today or whatever it may be, when you're a father, you have to express and show that love because as kids, them are things that they may think about even though we don't think they think about it. And my son tells me he loves me to this very day. Just for instance, um, I don't want no gifts for my son as far as like Christmas or birthdays or anything like that. And I let him know. He said, Dad, what do you want for Christmas? Dad, what do you want for your birthday? You know what I tell him? He's my gift. long as he continue, to uh, do what he needs to do, you know what I'm saying, to make himself a better person, from a boy to, you know what I'm saying, a young man to a grown man. That's all I need to see. That's my gift. So today, it's my birthday. And 1 minute after 12, my son walks out because I always make sure that on my birthday, the actual day, I make sure I'm awake, just in case because life's not promised to us. So I make sure I'm awake, 1 minute after 12. So my son comes out 1 minute after 12 and he says to me, gives me a hug, and he tells me, I love you, Dad. Happy birthday. That right there was all I needed. I didn't need a card. I didn't need no money. There was nothing that I needed, you know? So it's just certain things, that you need, as far as self, to give that certain fulfillment. But it's like, for him to walk out and he knows me, 1 minute after 12. I seen him, he seen me. So if I fell asleep and I didn't awake earlier, what I'm saying, that morning, like around 6, 7, 5:30, whatever it may be, if I didn't awake, one thing I would be at peace for myself because I did get to see my son, as a turn of, another year. So I'm here and I'm talking about, you know, no matter what hand that you're presented with in life, you can make that hand a winning hand. And when I say winning, I'm not necessarily talking about, finances and so forth and so on. I'm basically talking about in life. And too young to understand is when you're a kid and you see the things, that everything shows itself in due time. And for instance, I'm going to get into a few stories and I'm going to talk about some things to where I didn't understand as a kid, but as an adult, I understood them, and certain things shaped me and formed my life, and made me, who I am today. And dealing in certain things and going through certain things, it shapes you as far as your beliefs, you know, um, integrity, it deals with that. Um, in ego and pride, everything basically, what I'm saying, takes shape and shows you something. And one of the things that I have to touch on, as far as when I talk about too young to understand, uh, as far as like looking at my family structure, you know, my family basically migrated off from the South. And upon coming to, uh, Seattle, Washington, that's where I'm from. Um, Everybody came from Louisiana. My mom's from Texas. And they all got on the garbage route. That was like a job, you know. And at the time, it was, it's all about survival. And we all came to Holly Park. That's where, my aunts, my uncles, my mom, we all moved into Holly Park. And that structure and that love within, it was like a community, and it was like everybody raised each other's kids, you know what I'm saying? And this is something that as a kid, I didn't see, but as an adult, I seen the dynamics. And so everybody got on the garbage route. And, they was basically garbage man, which garbage men paid good money. Um, Going through life, I see myself as far as like, you know, not being a garbage man. It just wasn't for me. But the thing that I did connect to is like football. But at a particular time, this is crazy because I didn't understand how football actually worked. I just knew I could run. I just knew that, you know what I'm saying, I was aggressive because we used to play excuse my friend, we used to play a thing called smear the queer, throw the ball up, catch it, and everybody try to tackle you. And every now and then we played teams. But I knew I was good at football, you know. So my thing was, I'm gonna be an NFL player, you know. And as kids, we all have dreams and so forth. The only thing is, I didn't know the dynamics as far as what you had to do in order to get to the NFL. In my mind, I thought all you had to do was be good. And once you be good, they pick you up and you go to the next phase, of the sport. So I started playing football, which was little league football. Um, Only support I had was truthfully myself. Um, my mom, she worked. At the time, she was working 2 jobs, so she should be very tired, you know. So she didn't make it to any of the games. I can't remember my mom coming to one game, and if she did, maybe there was one, but I just, I don't remember. My brothers, they come to some of the games that was in the neighborhood, but they didn't go to the games to where we had to ride out, so forth and so on. But as a kid, I had nobody really to sit me down and give me, saying just the information as far as what it took in order for, me to go to the next level. So I thought, long as I played good, somebody would see me, and before I know it, I would be oh, excuse me, I dropped some. I would be in the NFL. Yeah. Um, I So back to what I was saying. Uh, I was thinking that good as I am, and if I perform well, uh, an NFL guy would come along and they would pick me up, and I would be in the NFL. Lo and behold, we all know that's not true. But me not having a father in the house, or me being the oldest brother, so I was at top tier. You know, my mom worked, so her thing was food, clothing, and shelter, just providing. But I'm thinking that uh, I'm on my way. I'm playing good. Year after year, I'm getting better and better. But the thing is, um, NFL wasn't going to happen at that point because, for one, I didn't have the direction. I had no adult actually stepping in, letting me know. I only found this out as I got older, and I realized that you played in high school, your grades made a difference. You had to be recruited by college. Going through college, which I never made it, I should say. Then was the next step. But my situation, in as far as when it comes to um, the whole sports thing, is that we all may think that we're going to be at that level in life, but realization is we can be, but if we don't understand it, or we don't have the right direction or someone to direct us, it won't happen. And that was my experience as far as being too young to understand. And my reasoning for that is I didn't have somebody there that could actually guide me and give me the right direction in order for me, you know, to take it to the next level. Do I regret it? Nah, it's all a learning curve. It's all in life. And what I say once again, with these hands, I made them a winning hand. So now, the whole dynamics as far as, growing up, I can remember a story to where when I'm young, and we used to go over to a relative's house, and our relatives, they owned a house, and I never understood the whole theory as far as cutting everything off. And you guys know where I'm going with this. Electricity, so forth, lights, running water, because they owned the house. The one thing that just always get me though, and I never really used to like going, over there at certain particular times. Uh, at this time, it was when you had to take a bath, because over at my house in the projects, man, I should run the tub water is almost to the top of it to where it overflowed. But when we went over there, man, they ran the water just enough, to where if you lay backwards in the tub, you could lay back and your head would be on the bottom of the tub, but the water wouldn't even touch your ears. That's just how low they ran the water. But I didn't know that, at the time of owning a house, that you pay water bills and so forth, So that was the whole thing as far as being young. You don't know that everything costs electricity, water, you know, just the maintenance, and as far as like even with rent, you know what I mean? Like now, we got rent, we got mortgage, and I didn't deal with mortgage, I didn't deal with rent. I didn't deal with property tax, so forth and so on. So all these dynamics as a kid, we don't see the responsibilities in which, you know what I'm saying, has to take place and the stress levels that parents have to go through. You know, we are as kids, we just thinking, clothes and, toys and laughter and fun. I mean, that's the whole dynamics of a kid as far as you growing up and going to school. As you become an adult and you get on your own, there go the responsibility thing, because it's like this. If you're working a job and you're getting paid, a great percentage is going to go toward those bills. As kids, we don't see that, and the struggles that some parents go through, especially when you come to single, households. And what I mean by that is single households is um, a mother, without a father in the house. In some situations, it's a father without a mother being in a household. But whatever it may be, it's one income that's coming in, and that income is all directed, to the bills and everything in order to keep the lights on, food on the table, roof over your head. So as kids, we don't see that, we don't think about that. But as I got older, I seen, the whole layout as far as being responsible and making sure that, food, clothing, and shelter was a necessity. And that it's a necessity, and that, what I'm saying, that your kids have to have it. And then with the kids today, they're very expensive. You know what I mean? And what I mean by expensive is like this. When I was growing up, and I didn't think nothing bad of it at that particular time, my mom would get us a certain amount of pants and get us more shirts. So basically, the whole idea to that was you would wear the pants maybe a couple times throughout the week, but the shirts they would switch up. You know what I mean? So you may say, for instance, you had two pair of pants or three pair of pants. You would have either five shirts or six shirts, whatever it may be. The shirts would alternate, but the pants basically would remain the same. And then you had two pair of shoes, which was considered your play shoes, and then your good shoes that you would wear to school. I didn't look at that as bad, or didn't even look at that as wrong. I didn't look at that no type of way. As far as growing up, my mom conditioned me that way, and that's how I seen it. Um, I only didn't see it that way as when I became a teenager and I got my first job. And at that point, you're spending your own money. But one thing I did realize is that if I'm going to spend my own money, I'm going to get more quantity. You know what I mean? As far as like, I'm going to make sure I had pants and, and shirts for every day, what I'm saying, of that week, as far as when I'm going to school and so forth and so on. So that basically changed, what I'm saying, in that retrospect, as far as what my mom was doing. Because my mom basically had me and my two other brothers. And so she had to make her money, stretch between us three as well as the bills and so forth and so on. And I'm not gonna say I lived a terrible life or anything like that as far as when it came to having things in life. Truth be told, I thought we was, you know, I thought we had a little money growing up because my mom worked a job, a decent job. Um, we had clothes. My mom had all furniture. Our refrigerator was never empty, so forth and so on. So my mom, for what she had, she presented it, well, as far as in her tax bracket, as I say today. Nowadays, you know, uh, kids, they want the Jordans, you know, uh, they want the best video games. They want all the electrical devices that they can have, from earpods to cell phones, and like you say, you got these cell phones these days. They're ranging from lowest 600, 600 to almost 1600 and more, for a phone, and me, I just need a basic phone, but your kid, he wants the iPhone, and the best iPhone, I should say, that's in the year. And as far as when it comes to shoes and so forth, they want the Jordans or the shoes that the basketball players play, or, just what they feel that's the basketball players wear, I should say. But as a parent, and and with my tax bracket, I can afford to do so. But in some situations, people can't. So when they can't afford it, um, the kid either goes with the best that they can have, or they choose a different means of getting to things, that they want, and unfortunately, um, they turn to other things. Um, as a kid, I would say, um, growing up, I grew up at a time in life, um, to where, people was working. Weed was a big thing, growing up. Then I can remember, when I was young, the crack era came in, and when crack era hit, it was uh, it was in the '80s, the mid '80s, I would say, up here in Seattle, Washington. As far as when I first observed it, like '85, '86, somewhere in there. As far as when I actually seen it, and it might have been even a little earlier because I can remember a time. Um, my mom had a boyfriend, and it was crazy. Um, and I didn't. This is gonna go back to where, um, not too young to understand, because what you're seeing, you're really not, bringing it in. And what took place is that, uh, she had a boyfriend, and he worked a job at a particular time. And I guess within that time, I'm giving you from what I know, and then I'm jumping back to how I didn't know at that time. But it's crazy, um, how you see things then, and then when you grow up, you understand them, and you know exactly what was taking place. So at this particular time, he was working a job, and at some point in time, he must have got involved with crack rock. And I remember riding with him to a friend's location in the Central District, and they came out the room. When they came out the room, one of the individuals that he was with ended up dropping. At that particular time, I didn't know what it was, but it was a crack rock. But the guy, he was real animated, had a loud, loud laugh I can remember. And he said, "Oh no, we got to find that. We got to find that." So me as a kid, being young, you're so observant. Uh, so I'm looking and I say, "Oh, there it is, right there." So they hurdled over it, picked the rock up, and cuffed it, did whatever they did at that particular time. But one thing I do remember is when they came out that room, that smell. Really didn't understand it. Now I did know what cigarette smoke smelled like because when I was younger, my mom smoked cigarettes. She even used to write me a note, and I used to go down and I used to pick her up, her cigarettes. And so uh, I knew it wasn't cigarette smell. I had a family, member and members that smoke weed, so I know what weed smelled like, and I knew it wasn't weed or anything like that. No, actuality, I didn't know what the smell was, but I know it was neither one of those. But I knew that some little rock had hit the ground, and I had located it. Uh, so at this particular time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't. A little bit later on, I can remember being uh, in this apartment that when we lived in the CD Central District, and I go into my mom's room, and in this room, it was a plate, and it was a powder substance on the plate, and I remember uh, me looking at it, and I know that when something's in my mom's room, I don't take it out and do whatever it was, throw it away or whatever the case may be. So I seen it, and didn't think nothing of it until my mom got home from work. I can remember saying to my mom, I was like, "Mom, why you got like I think it said a plate of flour or a plate of sugar in your room?" You know what I mean? On a plate, whatever it was, right? So my mom, I hear her arguing about the whole situation, but me not really knowing what it was at that particular time. But as we know as adults, when I got to a certain age, boom, it dawned on me. That's cocaine. There was another situation to where uh, I had a family member to where I was young, and I remember he was a real sharp individual. With my observation, I noticed that he wasn't dressing or moving how he was at one particular time, and I was at his house, and he used to have these magazines, on the table, real neatly stacked, so forth and so on. And I should go through these magazines. They was Playboy magazines, actually, naked women, whatever it may be. So I'm fiddling through the magazines, and I end up moving the magazine, and there's three stones, them white rocks. So I seen him, and he hurried over there, I cuffed him as well. You know, as a kid, you're young. I didn't really think nothing of it. Didn't really pay too much attention. But come to find out, we know what they were. It was some rocks, some stones. So as I became older, um, I I found out and knew exactly what that was. With me being the oldest brother, I was the one that basically ventured away from um, just the nest. I'm the older brother, so I have to see the things in order, for me to survive. Because there were certain situations as far as like, with the gang era, coming up to Seattle from the guys that came from LA, and I remember when the G's came up and they surfaced. So with me being an older brother, I had to see all this, and I had to basically not involve myself, but I had to basically make decisions in my life, as far as who I'm going to be, and not having a male figure in the house, and me being, the top person in the household as far as on the male side, as far as my younger brothers. A lot of decisions had to be made, and a lot of things had to be done. Um, so um, I had family members that basically they deal, you know, in rock cocaine. And I can remember with the relative meeting him and him displaying. And at the time, I'm gonna be honest, I worked and everything. I worked jobs because that was the way I was taught: work hard, save your money, get the things that you want in life. I worked a job, but I always thought bigger. And without a father or nobody in the household, you're gonna be adventurous. So you're gonna find things to do. You're gonna find faster ways, to make money. It's just, if somebody presented to you and you see that it's possible. And I had a family member that basically introduced me, basically to sell, rock cocaine. And I went to that individual after I contemplated for days. He basically said, if I want to make some real money, come see him. And so eventually, I did. I I left my job. I remember I was young. I left my job and went to him and said exactly. He said, if I want to make some real money, come see you. And he put the sack in my hand, and basically, and then at this time, I ain't never sold anything, you know, didn't know anything about it or whatever the case may be. But he laid me out a plan as far as what to do. Um, Not knowing what this thing was, but once he displayed it to me and showed me, and it was all chopped up, aha, we all know what it was. There it goes. That rock I found on the ground, the plate, you know, the rocks that I found in the magazine, it all came full circle. Eventually, uh, I ended up having a house. Well, sitting up in a house, and it was a crack house, and I used to have a person tested, eventually, and well, actually, they smoked in front of me, or not exactly in front of me, but near me. Boom. Number two. Remember that smell I told you about? When I was younger, I smelled that smell. It answered all the questions as far as, that cocaine smell, that rock cocaine smell. So now I'm putting all these pieces together as a kid, as far as the individuals that involved themselves to where it was no longer, about smoking weed, about smoking cigarettes. They was on crack. And even the individuals as far as their habits and their behaviors that I seen at that particular time as a kid, to where it was like this person acting strange. It was crack. Eventually, I seen a lot of people fall off from it. One thing as far as with me, I was always been, because I play sports, I was always into my health. So, and I was always told, don't never, don't never smoke this stuff. Don't, this stuff's not good for you. You let them clucks or them crackheads or, whatever. You let them smoke this stuff. You just make money from it. But it wasn't so much of them telling me that; it was seeing the facts that it did for them, to them, as far as them not caring about their self. As far as physically, mentally. Just observing that and seeing how they were. But I looked at it as a source, what I'm saying, of getting money. Eventually, I seen family members to where I seen a family member at one time carry, it was either, I want to say, a microwave or just something of a box down to the corner, because I could see this corner all the way from where I was living at that particular time. And so I went down to this corner and I said, "Hey, the lady that you just she dropped something off to you and ran off." I said, "What was that?" And he said, "Oh, she's a smoker, so forth and so on. She's a smoker lady, so forth and so on." Ended up being a relative of mine, and it wasn't my mom. My mom never indulged in that type of stuff, that I can say. She never presented that to me, never showed them signs, never went without, never went on no binges, no nothing like that. My mom never showed no signs of indulging in that. Even the individual that was in the house, she ended up, letting him go. Just, once I figured it out later on as I got older, that was the reason why she let him go, because basically he jeopardized and put her kids in some type of harm's way, and she wasn't with it. One thing I will say, my mom, she was diehard when it came to us, you know what I mean, for any and all situations, whether it be fighting. She's gonna fight a man, she's gonna, fight a woman, she's gonna, work hard, she's gonna carry my brother in her arms, have my one brother holding her hand and me walking behind him, or the opposite, in order to get us, to the babysitters, in order for her to go to work, So yeah, so she's a survivor, as far as when it comes to that. So my mom, it wasn't her, it was other family members. So just that whole era, as far as, me not understanding at that particular time, what that whole crack thing done, and you see the ending results of it today, you know, as far as like, people started out from weed and went to crack, they went to heroin, you know what I mean? And they got even the more powerful things today, that's basically knocking people off, were causing their death or causing them basically to lose their mind completely. So, just to understand that, and to basically see the effects of it, what I'm saying, right now today, it was like, I didn't understand as a kid, but as I got older, I see all the dynamics of it right now.
Ego and pride aside, I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside, you know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride aside, I know you when you don't know you. You know me and I don't know me.
That voice in your head been heard for a long time. Artificially a mystery in your own mind. In the car with you, always hit you with the calm trash. Developing the issue with some shit you could've walked past. All that wrong math, long ass idling. Tribal shit when your mind's your best survival kit. At war with yourself, arguing with the barber dude. You your own worst